Welcome to Pimpy's Investment Chat, where we keep investment talk simple. And here's your host, Pimpy.
What is going on out there, peeps? A couple of things. So, I had a chance to talk to a disabled vet who was kind of giving me an earful, wanted to know why I hated America. I said, I don't hate America. I don't know where you got that idea from. He says, well, you always seem to be talking bad about them. I said, I don't talk bad about America. I said, I love my country. I love my constitutional republic. And some things he brought up about comments that I made. And I said to him, you're misunderstanding. I don't hate my country. I can't stand the politicians that control it. Big difference. And I went on to explain why. I think what the internet has done was brought access to people you wouldn't otherwise have a chance to talk to, or access to information. This is why they want to control it. This is why they want to silence people. This is why they want censorship. Because people are starting to really wake up and find out about the truth. And I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. Let's get into this. Before we get started, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. If you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I certainly do appreciate it. If you're thinking about buying gold and silver, head on over to our friends at Miles Franklin. The link will be down below in the description. When you make your purchase, make sure you use promo code Pimpy, P-I-M-P-Y, and they'll take care of you. If you have any additional questions, you can reach us over here at this phone number or over here at this particular email. For all orders over $10,000, reach out by email and we'll make sure that you get a great deal. So come on over to Miles Franklin and add to your precious metal inventory. Anyways, to show you kind of how old I am, I remember MySpace. And the funny thing is, I swear, if the younger generation learned about MySpace, they would go back to it easily. Before MySpace, we had C-Pixel. Yeah, that's how old I am. But anyways, when I went to MySpace, I liked it because you could dress up your profile and put all the pictures in the background. And it had all kinds of cool things like you had a music list you can play and listen to your favorite music. You had your top 8 friends, which would cause all kinds of fights over who is number one. Crap like that. But anyways, I bring this up because when I was on MySpace, it really started allowing me to connect to people who lived in other countries. I met a woman who was from Libya. Anyways, as time went on, we became pretty good friends. We chatted a lot on our little chat thing. And then all of a sudden, the United States went after Gaddafi and went after Saddam Hussein. And we heard all these horrible stories about these guys. Dictators who terrorized their own people, who tortured them and killed them. I remember talking to a girl from Libya, and I asked her, I says, oh, I bet you're really happy that Omar Gaddafi was killed. And I've told this story before, and she wasn't. She's really upset about this. She said, I'll tell you since you don't know any better. When we were talking about media, we realized that our media obviously doesn't tell the truth. And all the bad things that we heard about Gaddafi anyways, I can't speak for Saddam Hussein, but we know there was no weapons of mass destruction, that was for sure. She said, you don't understand what kind of leader Gaddafi was. He was a great man. And I was like, that's not what we hear. You know what I mean? We were told that he was this terrible guy. And then she went on to tell me all the great things that Gaddafi did. And talking with the disabled vet, I told him my concerns with the Middle East is every time they try to get on track, whether it's Iraq or any other country, it just always appears there's an excuse for the United States to go into these countries, tear the whole country apart. And it's kind of hard not to feel sorry for these people. Because we're told one story, but there's something totally different. And then these people's lives are totally destroyed. Because one of the things the vet asked me is, do you think the United States would let Iraq increase their exchange rate? So anyways, I remember listening to Louis Farrakhan talking about Gaddafi. So I want to share it with you, and I want you to hear what he says about Omar Gaddafi, just to give you guys an idea of what this man was doing for his country before we get into Iraqi dinar. So over on Pimpy's News Network, I did upload a video. It's a documentary about Gaddafi, but it gets into some leaked emails from Hillary Clinton. It tells the truth about what happened over there, which is another reason why I don't trust the media, and it's kind of hard to trust the government that we're dealing with right now. And I think they really realize that the internet has become a problem for them. That's why they want that new Internet of Things. That's what they call it, but it's a more censored, more controlled type of internet. Anyways, I just want to share a little bit. I want you to listen to what Louis Farrakhan says about Gaddafi, but not just that, what he says about our media too, all right?
It's the principle that made me his brother. Now look at what this man did. After nationalizing the oil, he used the oil revenue to benefit the Libyan people, building schools, infrastructure, universities, hospitals. He raised the literacy rate from 20% when he became the leader, and at the time of his assassination, it is 83%. Libya has one of the finest healthcare systems in the third world. All people have access to doctors, hospitals, clinics, and medicines free of charge. If a Libyan needs surgery that is unavailable in Libya, funding is provided for the surgery to be carried out overseas. He raised the life expectancy of the Libyan people from 44 years, and now at the time of his assassination, 75 years of age. Basic food items were subsidized and electricity was made available throughout the country. Brother Muammar Gaddafi has set up huge irrigation projects which were established in order to support a drive toward agricultural development and food self-sufficiency. He spent $33 billion on the man-made river, where his engineers brought water up out of the desert, and now pipelines ran from Benghazi and Tobruk almost to the door of Tunisia.
Gaddafi's crowning achievement was the Great Man-Made River Project, one of the world's largest irrigation systems. This massive infrastructure project brought water from the desert to the cities and coastal regions. It turned vast stretches of arid land into fertile ground for agriculture.
One of the most ambitious irrigation schemes in the world. It's called the Great Man-Made River, and it flows beneath these sands. It is colossal in scale. 500,000 concrete pipes have been made and laid down over the past 2.5 decades. 6,000 kilometers of pipeline. Engineers digging deep into the bowels of the earth to tap into ancient aquifers. Libyans call it the 8th wonder of the world.
Any Libyan who wanted to become a farmer was and still is given free use of land, a house, farm equipment, livestock, and seed. Brother Muammar Gaddafi vowed that his own parents, who lived in a tent in the desert, would not be housed until every Libyan was housed. He fulfilled that promise. Under the revolutionary leadership of Muammar Gaddafi, Libya has now attained the highest standard of living in Africa. Money from Libya's oil revenue is directly deposited into the bank account of every Libyan. Women have full access to education, employment, and he has enabled women to serve in the armed forces. And this is most important. Gaddafi was the first and the only leader in the Arab world to formally apologize for the Arab role in the trade in captured Africans. Gaddafi acknowledged that the black Africans were the true owners of Libya and proclaimed in his green book, quote, "The black race shall prevail throughout the world." Now, Brother Gaddafi took oil money and started moving the Organization of African Unity toward the African Union, with a goal toward uniting 53, now 54 nations in Africa to the United States of Africa. Whenever we called Africa, our call had to go through Europe, and over $500 million went to Europe. But Gaddafi put up 400 million, and the rest of Africa put up 100 million and put up an African satellite. Now you can call directly to Africa from anywhere in the world without going through Europe. He asked the African nations to stop sending their raw materials to Europe to be made into products and then sent back to Africa to be paid for in an exorbitant price range. He wanted the Africans to take their raw materials and make them into products and then sell their products on the world market. This is the man that was assassinated, and I'll close this point. The minute he wanted Africa united, America, Britain, France, Germany, Europe was against it. So they set up NEPAD, a new economic development pact. Gaddafi was against it. Sarkozy came up with another plan to take all the North African nations that are Arab and unite them with the nations of Southern Europe. Gaddafi rejected that. America wanted to set up on the African continent African as a launching pad for the recolonization of Africa. Gaddafi was against that. I read an article by the Jewish man from that was the former assistant to Rumsfeld. I can't call his name. Who?
Pearl?
No, not Pearl. Wolfowitz.
Wolfowitz, yeah.
Wolfowitz.
Paul Wolfowitz was the guy that said the war would pay for itself. It wasn't Bush, but it was Paul Wolfowitz. He was the one that came up with that saying.
This is a hell of a betrayal of the American people when you will not tell them the truth because you're afraid that if you tell the truth, your bosses will take your job from you. That's a hell of a thing. You don't have a democracy when you don't have a free press. You're all slaves, and you love it. So you deserve what you get. The erosion of your democracy. You'll soon be the laughing stock of the world. It's a damn shame. That's why the children are occupying space in New York, in Boston, in Washington, in Chicago, in San Francisco, and other cities. Why? Because they're not looking to you as a source of information for them. Look how long it took you all to talk about what was going on in New York. It took you 2 weeks because the same people that controlled the banks controlled the media. You all know it, but you're afraid to say it. But God put it on Farron to say it for you. And maybe one day you'll get some courage to stand up and give America free media, a real free fourth estate. But right now, you ain't even worth the time of day. You need somebody to tell the truth.
That's right.
You need somebody that's not afraid to die for the truth, that you could be made free.
That's right.
Because you're not free. And you don't really know what it means to really be a free white person, a free black person, a free Mexican, a free Arab. If you're afraid to tell the truth, what future does your children have in a society where truth is brushed to the curb? I thank God for the young man that invented this wonderful technology. Steve Jobs. That's the man that's freeing the whole planet. Where Zbigniew Brzezinski could say, yesterday it was easier to control 1 million people than to kill 1 million people. Then now he says it's easier to kill 1 million people than to control 1 million people because the genie is out of the box, the cat is out of the bag, the people all over the world are waking up. And you need to wake up and free America. Then you'll have a future and your children will have a future. But if you're afraid for what? You're going to die anyway. Where can you run to escape death?
Look, a lot of civil rights leaders have had to deal with corrupt media And that same media is the one that helped convince America that we needed to go to Iraq. Bush started the flames of war and the media kept it burning. That's why we are where we are today. None of us trust the media. I literally go to X platform, formerly known as Twitter, to read all the different news articles that the mainstream media is not going to cover. What I try to do is make a video about what's not being covered by the mainstream media, and I post it on the Pimpy's News Network and encourage you guys to go over and check it out, because this is stuff you guys are not allowed to hear on other platforms. And I know there's a lot of people out there going, oh, we don't trust Elon Musk and we don't trust the Twitter or the X platform because the media told you not to trust them. So when that disabled vet was saying he thought I hate America, I said, no, I don't like the way politics are being played. I don't like the way our banking industry is being controlled. I don't like the way our media is controlled. All of our freedoms are being removed and people don't realize it. And it brings me to where we are today with the Iraqi dinar. Listen a little bit more to what Gaddafi tried to do, because he was trying to free all these African nations, including the Middle Eastern countries.
But Gaddafi didn't stop there. He established a state-owned bank that provided interest-free loans for development projects. No more crushing debt from the IMF or World Bank. Libya was charting its course, free from the shackles of Western financial institutions. Gaddafi had big dreams for the rest of Africa too. He wanted to spread Libya's economic model across the continent. No more reliance on former colonial powers. Africa could finally be truly independent and self-sufficient. This bold vision of African unity and prosperity terrified the West. How dare a small nation like Libya defy the global financial system they controlled? Gaddafi's unorthodox policies made him a threat that needed to be eliminated. Gaddafi wasn't just dreaming of economic independence for Libya. His vision extended to the entire African continent. The centerpiece of this bold plan was the creation of a pan-African currency called the Libyan golden dinar. This new currency would be backed by Libya's vast reserves of gold and silver. In an eye-opening email from April 2, 2011, Hillary Clinton's confidant, Sidney Blumenthal, revealed the shocking details. Gaddafi's government held a staggering 143 tons of gold and a similar amount of silver. Worth over $7 billion, this precious metal stockpile was intended to establish the Pan-African dinar. If successful, this move would have dealt a devastating blow to the global financial system dominated by the US dollar and European currencies like the French African franc. For decades, African nations had been stuck using these colonial-era currencies, perpetually indebted and exploited by their former imperial masters. But the Libyan dinar threatened to upend everything. It offered Africa a path to true economic sovereignty. No more playing by the rules of the Western banking cartel. This symbolic break from monetary colonialism was simply unacceptable to the powers that be.
So when people ask me questions like, do you think the United States is going to let Iraq do something about their exchange rate? The truth of the matter is, it's kind of hard to answer honestly. It really just depends on how much the United States wants to continue to control Iraq. Magically having ISIS pop up, grow to the size that they did, come into their country and start a conflict with the Iraqi people was just a kind of excuse that the United States needed to keep a presence there forever and a day. So it's kind of hard for me to feel like the United States will let Iraq do anything. Now, I'm not saying they won't. If any of these nations start to come together and create, an alternative currency again, the BRICS nation, like Gaddafi tried to do, what is it that the United States would do to make sure that doesn't happen? That's why I think it's interesting that Saudi Arabia is now taking payments for oil in alternative currencies. This is why you've seen Biden threaten the Prince bin Salman with the whole Khashoggi thing. And then all of a sudden we're looking for reasons to go after Russia and get rid of Putin. See what happened in Brazil. They just rigged their election and our intelligence agencies were with them. So how long until we see that they no longer want to be part of the BRICS nation? What Gaddafi was doing, not just for the Libyan people, but all the African nations, trying to unite them and free themselves from the grip of the United States. But every time somebody even made that kind of attempt, you've seen what happened to them. Now we see al-Sudani. He keeps coming over to the United States trying to negotiate the departure of the coalition forces as well as the Americans. But then all of a sudden now, what do we just see happen? Iran attacked Israel. That's going to be an excuse for the United States to stay in Iraq because they can attack Iran from Iraq, which is what we don't want. Also, keep in mind, Iran is part of the BRICS movement as well. So not only are they going after Putin, but now they're going after Iran. So I guess the bigger question is, what do you think? Yes, we see Iraq doing all kinds of great things, working on their infrastructure, reforming their policies, reforming their banking. All this is outstanding news. But I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop and for the United States to find a reason to go once again inside Iraq and raise hell. And if they do that, then it's going to force people to attack America inside Iraq. There could be bombing coming from Iran. There could be bombing coming from other nations, trying to get at U.S. soldiers, destroying all the infrastructure all over again. I don't want that to happen. So these are the types of things that's been on my mind. I'm just curious about what you think. Let me know, leave a comment down below, and I'll get back at you later. I'm out.